So this is the October 2022 edition of What Have I Been Writing With Lately? This is the series in which I talk about the pens and pencils that I've been using this month. These aren't reviews or endorsements or anything like that. It's just the pens and pencils that have been on my desk this month. So we'll jump right into it. It's been sort of an odd assortment this month. And no real rhyme or reason. I would say some of the stuff is pens that I recently purchased. Other ones are ones that I've just sort of rediscovered or landed on my desk that I've been sticking with. And there's one old favorite here. I'll start off with this one. This is the Live Work mayonnaise. And I think I have the packaging here. Either Live Work or Live Work, whatever they call themselves. Not a company I was really familiar with. This is one of those pens that when you're buying from a online pen store and you see something, or at least I see something that's $2, $3, I'll just throw it in my cart just to learn about a new company or a new product. The mayonnaise just comes from the color of the barrel. It's this interesting off-white, and it has a kind of contrasting blue and green. It's a click retractable pen, not made particularly well, not really notable in any way from what I could tell. But it was just a new product for me. Has a kind of a cheapo refill, cheapo build quality. Not particularly notable, except fun color schemes and obviously a fun name for this one. There's a bunch of other colors. Writing with it, I guess we'll do the writing later, but it's a very standard black ballpoint. Not really much to say here. It's got a fun short shape and kind of a spike shape to it, which I don't hate, but not really notable otherwise. But I've been using it. This is a Pentel Energel 3, and this is basically a 3-color version of the Pentel Energel. I really like the Energel, as do many people that watch this channel. Just a really great set of gel pens, and definitely the line is not known for multi-pens. But I picked this one up recently. I think I might have had one earlier, but I can't find it, and I can't specifically recall. But I've been using this one, and it is a black, red, and blue. Not in that order. I think the markings are... It's missing... It's like... Not missing the markings, but it's missing clear markings, I would say. You could see right there is the red indicator. Here is the blue. And here is the black. They're very hard to see, and then there's no visual indicator when you pop out the tip. It is a needle tip, which is nice. It has this kind of weird button thing here, which I think is a remnant of if this was a 2+1, as in like one of these was a pencil, you would want this on the top. It doesn't seem to serve any function as a pen. It can't release this. You still have to push the side down. It doesn't really do anything, I guess. If you know, let me know in the comments, but I think it's just they use the same sort of body in the pencil design. This one's a nice writer. Maybe not quite as nice as a standard Energel, but pretty close. It uses these very skinny refills, which is, again, you would expect in a multi-pen, but quite small for a gel pen. So I don't expect these to last too long, but they don't really hurt the writing quality so much. And again, we'll do the writing at the end, but that's the Energel multi-pen. I think it's called the Energel 3, yeah. Next up we have this. This is an old Pilot Hi-Tech Point. I think you probably know the Hi-Tech Point as this. This is essentially a Pilot, like a V5, a precise V5 or something like that is how it's sold in the U.S. and primarily in Europe. I think it's precise, and then in Japan, and it's the Hi-Tech Point. Some Hi-Tech Points like this one have this really nice matte color scheme and a cartridge system. Others don't. This is, I don't know exactly from when, but this is a vintage metal Hi-Tech Point, and you can see the spelling is the same Hi-Tech Point right there. Full metal body. It has the sort of enameled black lines, which are very popular with some older pen series. Pilot had done this with the Morex and the MYU, the Mew or whatever you call those. So and it was the kind of the top end. It was the most expensive and most desirable of them. They did this in some rollerballs and stuff like that too. So you have a really nicely built, I think very good looking vintage ball. I'll call it a ballpoint. it was probably sold as a rollerball at the time. Has a compression fit at the top. This just kind of frictions on, which is generally not seen anymore. Those sort of designs don't age very well. Then it has a tiny little screw here. Again, this is a lot of pens used to use these designs back in the day. You don't see it too much anymore. And then a really stout spring. And then inside we have the real surprise of this, which is a Parker style refill. You would almost always expect a pen like this to have a rollerball refill in it, especially one from back in the day. But this one uses a Parker style. I just have an old Rotring refill in here, just because I have a bunch of these lying around from all my Rotring 600s. And I put it in here just because it's a fun, reliable refill. Maybe not fun. It's a reliable refill. Screw this back down. This thing just puts on here. You really don't want to take it on and off too much because, again, if it's just a friction fit, it's going to wear out over time, and this really nice pen will be ruined. See all the nice metal work. All these parts nowadays would have been plastic, like this top piece, and even the clip wouldn't be quite as nice. You doubt you'd have the logo reflected on the clip. So really some nice signs here. Beautifully built. Again, writing samples at the end. This is called the Tombow Monograph Light. I did a quick review of this one a few days ago, so I won't get too much into it. But the Tombow Monograph, which I have here somewhere, is, I guess the mono is basically a line, or monograph, whatever, is a line of Tombow pens and pencils. Fairly popular. Typically has this blue, white, green, blue, white, black stripe system. And now they have this, which is the Tombow Light, in a monochrome color set. So you can see it's this really nice sort of matte gray with the gray grip, and all the parts are the same color. So it looks much more modern and sort of like color blocked than some of the, again, like some of the standard designs, which are perfectly nice, but it's not quite as like 2022 as this full-on color where it's all the same and it's kind of a muted color. This one's a pretty good writer. I don't love it, but in the 0.5 millimeter, it's like a little bit, I would say just like too much feedback, not putting down enough ink. Kind of has a rattle feel to it, but once you get to the 0.7 millimeter, which is the largest size it's sold in, it's actually pretty pleasant. And while it's not a standout pen, I think it is a really good-looking pen, and I bought a few of them just to experiment, so I've been running them through their paces for the last, few months now, I guess. This one I don't really think I need to talk about at this point. This has been in, I would say, more of these writing with videos than any other pen. This is the Uniball Jetstream Sport in a 1.0 millimeter, and I've had this pen body through multiple refills. I'm just a big fan of this pen body. I like this kind of color scheme here. It's definitely, I would say, the best of the Jetstream Sports, which I don't consider to be a very good-looking pen. And this is the standard SXR-10, which is the 1.0 millimeter Jetstream refill. In my eyes, just an exceptionally good pen. Very comfortable, light, affordable, easy to find, easy to replace, and one of the best refills ever. I don't know. One of the best refills, definitely one of my most favorite refills, which is that Jetstream in a 1.0 millimeter. So this is sort of pen where I'll just like start using it and use it just all the time for a long time. And it's just very reliable and fun to use, kind of just like really my sweet spot pen. So this one has been back on my desk again. Something like I kind of need to hide so that I'm going through some of the other pens I have available. This is a portable little pen called the Olight O-Pen Mini. It's from Olight, which I think is primarily a manufacturer of flashlights. This does not have a flashlight in it. It is just a tiny little pen with a this kind of little J hook system for retracting it. Yeah, it's like affordable. It's not very comfortable. It has these grooves in here which let you see inside the pen, okay? But they don't serve any real purpose aside from like looking cool. This is just a little piece of, I think, I would say painted aluminum, kind of like powder coated aluminum, would be my guess. It's stronger than it looks, but also, again, I'm just at a complete loss as to what this design does. I guess it gives you some grip, but then why make it curved? I'm not really sure. Nothing really happening in the top here. It kind of looks like this would be a button or something. And I played with this pen many times thinking like, man, I feel like there has to be a flashlight in it or something hidden that I didn't know about, but there's really not. It's just a tiny little pen with this fun extension retraction mechanism here. The refill is really interesting. First of all, it's Olight white labeled. I doubt they actually make their own refills. It says ballpoint refill with like ball and point with a space between them, which is kind of odd. So I would guess it would be a kind of like an off-brand, just like a general pen manufacturer. It's not coming from some high-end manufacturer place. The top bit, it looks like what you would find in a kind of an older style pen. It doesn't have a standard Parker style refill cap on it. And then it looks like it's a Parker style refill, but it's a non-standard length. It's shorter than it needs to be and shorter than it should be to be a Parker style, as in the G2 standard. So it's sort of like a shortened G2 pen refill, which I'm sure was designed to accommodate non-standard pens like this. That said, I think this thing costs maybe like $8. It's all metal. It has a fun mechanism here that's very amusing to fidget with, and it gets its job done. Easy to throw into a pocket or a bag or one of those little pockets on your arm. And then, it's a little too short to be comfortable, and I don't like holding these kind of holes in it. But past that, I don't really have any complaints. It's done its job well, and it's been quite trustworthy. So I've been trying to use it, but it's really all I have to say about it. It's just like it's a fine short pen. Lastly, I would say the true oddity of the month, which is this thing. It's called the Metasil. It is from Sunstar, which I think they make some erasers and things that I've used in the past. I have the packaging here. And what this is one of those forever pencils where it's like the tip is like a heavy duty piece of graphite. I guess less of a clay component, so it's much harder. And it's supposed to just work for, right there you see, 16 kilometers of writing. So basically, it's supposed to last for a very, very long time. The trade-off for getting the 16 kilometers of writing is that it's 2H, which is quite hard. I think it's even harder than a 2H, so I don't quite buy it. But again, that H grading scale is really up to the manufacturer to say. So I don't think they were going to say, like, yeah, it's a 6H and have no one buy the thing. So they may have downgraded it a little bit. Basically, what this thing is, and just for reference, one of the kind of longest writing pen refills would be a Fisher Space Pen, or I guess like that sort of old school refill. Those are generally rated at, under 10 kilometers, I think around 8 or 9 kilometers. So this thing is crazy, crazy range. You have a really nice metal body. I think it's probably aluminum, hard to tell. Painted, comes in a very cool color, very light on the sort of logos and stuff like that, so it looks classy. It doesn't feel like wood. I don't think anyone's going to get this thing, grab it, feel how cold and heavy it is, and be like, oh, I should put this in a pencil sharpener. Like, that's probably not going to happen. This is the tip. It's that heavy-duty piece of graphite. And it is actually replaceable. So if you wanted to replace it after your 16 kilometers of writing, you certainly could. It's just this little brass thread and a piece of graphite. And you can see it's not even getting on my hands. That's how hard this is. First, I would have to say that I was using this and it was going okay. I didn't love it, but it was going okay. And then I dropped it onto a wood flooring and the tip cracked. I'm pretty careful with my pens and pencils. I don't think if you go through all these videos I've made, there's not that many examples of something I've dropped and broken, because it's not like I'm writing on concrete for most things. And this one dropped, fell in the wrong way. The tip cracked, and it became quite sharp and very, very unpleasant to write with because it is so hard, and the scratchy surface was ripping up paper. I have used it on some harder surfaces, kind of like like a piece of plywood or whatever, or maybe like a rougher, like an oak tag or something like that, in order to kind of smooth it down. And now I would say it's salvaged, but also now the tip angle, as you could probably see, is not great. And the thing's so hard that unless I get some emery or sandpaper or something, it's going to be quite difficult to get back to a proper angle. Anyway, you could hear clearly it's metal. And I would just say in summary that the tip for this is too hard. It is really hard to reshape the tip, so that once you start writing with it, you may not be happy with the result. And the fact that it could write 16 kilometers sounds great, but if it's 16 kilometers of unpleasant writing, that's way too light. That's not really a great selling point. So I'm not a fan of this thing, and I wouldn't recommend it, but it's a fun idea. So we'll start off with this. This is the Metasil, and this is that pencil. You can see that I have salvaged it, so it is able to write again, and the writing is pretty much legible. If I turn it, you get more of the harder tip. That's just because of when I sort of sharpened it. That's how it came out. Let's see, I think I have... So here is just a standard HB pencil. So here's his, what is this one? This is the Musgrave. Pretty big difference there. The Metasil is clearly hard to read. The Metasil, I'd say it erases better than I expected. Not perfect, but better than I expected. It doesn't have an eraser on it. See if I have a harder pencil here real quick. Nah, I don't think so. Anyway, you could see it. Is that 2H, 3H, 4H? Hard to say, but it's definitely a harder pencil. So up to you whether it does a job or not. Here's the Olight. This one, the refill is better than it needs to be. It's a pretty nice, legible black refill, even though it's unbranded. I have no problem with it. The main issue with this one is going to be when that refill wears out, how are you going to replace it? You're going to have to go direct to Olight and find a replacement refill. Presumably they sell it. I haven't checked yet. I doubt I'm more than a third way of the way through this refill. This is the Jetstream. Very smooth, very legible. Quite a broad ink for a ballpoint. Just one of my favorites. Now we have the Tombow. You can see it's quite thin. Has sort of a rattle sound as I write. And this is the 0.5 millimeter. So I would say it's not unpleasant to write with, but definitely not my favorite. This is the 0.7 millimeter. 0.7. In the 0.5, it's much less pleasant to use, and it has a sort of a shaky feel to it, and really very little smoothness. It's just not a good 0.7 millimeter, 0.5 millimeter. So if you like this pen, get the 0.7 millimeter, use that, and then you could find a refill that fits in this pen. I think there's a few that you could swap in and out, so you could upgrade this. This one doesn't have the original refill in it, so there may not be much point in this, but this is the high-tech point. And this is just a Rotring. Their ballpoint is called the Giant. Now we have the Energel in black, blue, and then red. These are really great. Quite happy with Energel ink. Once again, the black is smooth, has a nice dark tone to it. The blue is really great. I really like the Energel blue. Where's the blue? Primarily you would have the black keyed to the largest implement. Black is considered the most popular color for most pens, and it would go with the primary tool. And this one they have blue as the primary. I'm not really sure what the deal with that is, but I thought it was an interesting choice. Anyway, the blue is really great. It has a sort of a green tone to it. I think it's just a really fun kind of pop to your blue. And then the red is very vibrant and one of the most legible reds I've had in my gel pens. So definitely nice work from Pentel. Lastly, we have this. This is the Livework. And this is an unexceptional black ballpoint. They say on the paper that it's high viscosity and this other stuff, but it's just a very standard ballpoint. When you get like a free pen at the bank, this is essentially what it is. This company just happened to put it in a cooler packaging and call it Mayonnaise, which is quite clever. And I think they have all their colors with equally clever names. Anyway, that's the Livework. And that's it. That is what I've been writing with. These are the pens that I've been writing with this month. Thanks for watching.